Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Cole's Farm. It is May 3rd, just after 10 o'clock. It's 76 degrees and feels like 76 degrees here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. And it is 79% humidity and definitely feels like it. Alright, so just a recap on the last month or so. I inspected hive number 1 back on March 31st. Found quite a few frames with swarm cells, so I made the decision to split those hives. And an unusual cold front came through a day or two later and basically chilled all the brood. None of the queen cells hatched. And kind of a rookie mistake, I didn't find the queen in hive number 1. I kind of made like a walkaway split, which turned out to be a mistake in hindsight because I left this hive queenless. So I followed up on April 8th, determined the hive was queenless. I caught a swarm, very good timing, on April 16th. I dropped them into a nuke box, gave them about 4 days, conducted a follow-up on them, posted a video as well. Turned out to be a mated queen. She was already laying eggs, and a swarm was heavy on honey. They started drawing out comb. It was great. And then basically gave that a few more days, and then I decided to recombine the splits that I made. So the swarm, I used the swarm that I caught over here to basically make hive number 1 queen right, and I used the newspaper method, which we'll see during the inspection. Just lay a sheet of newspaper, keep the hive separate, you know, hopefully they don't kill the queen. And then hive number 2 was queen right, but basically I just combined some of the boxes with some drawn comb. So this is a double stack again. So initially this year I wanted to run all single stacked or single brood boxes and just add honey supers, which I still plan on doing, which means I'm going to split these 2 hives eventually, but not right now. So it's been a while since I've conducted a thorough inspection, and mainly what I'm looking for today is that this queen has drawn out a few frames of brood. Hopefully it's nice solid brood. It's been about 2 weeks since I moved the nuke over here, so we should have practically a full brood cycle capped and soon to emerge. Alright, so enough of me yapping. Oh yeah, one last thing. So as you can see, it's kind of overcast, and the reason I'm out here so early is because it calls for rain around 1 o'clock today, and then the entire weekend's going to be raining. So having already figured out that with a few things, with dark comb in combination with overcast weather, it is practically impossible to see eggs. So decided to do something different, and it's not super bright, it's not a expensive flashlight at all. It came with another flashlight or whatever, but hopefully, you know, this does the trick to basically just see down in the cell and find an egg or 2. Alright, so again, enough with me yapping. Let's move over here and get into hive number 1. And I'm back using the GoPro with the Joe B Gorilla Stand because I have an older phone that just simply does not have the memory it needs to record like some folks out in the bee yard constantly, but maybe one day I'll upgrade to where I can make things a little easier on myself. But until then, the GoPro works just fine. It just takes a while to edit the videos, so it's something I'm willing to deal with for now. Oh yeah, a few things that are in bloom. We got blueberries in bloom, we got blackberries in bloom, we got some lingustrums, which are prestas, I believe, if that's the non-scientific term. They're in bloom. What else was this stuff? I can't even remember. I've posted a few things on our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, of course. Alright. Let's see how the old honey super is looking. Well, slowly but surely there's more and more bees in here. However, that's just disappointing, man. That is just disappointing to see, especially that the nectar flow has started. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe maybe they just don't like the yellow foundation. Oh yeah, so here's another thing with a queenless hive that I learned is they will start making this thing honey bound real quick. So that's the other thing I'm checking for today, is to see if they've basically, you know, moved some of the nectar, honey, pollen around to free up some space for the queen to lay eggs. I can tell you this much. This box has some serious weight to it, so kinda, so does the bottom, but anyway, I'm kind of thinking, I'm thinking this box is packed with honey, honestly, because there's no way brood weighs that much. So that kind of raises the next question of why, well, we'll get there, I guess, of why they continue to pack the top brood box with honey if they are queen right. So we'll figure that out here soon. And then I painted some boxes with some different patterns. So I'm going to be transferring frames into the newly painted boxes as well as I go. Okay, so first frame, obviously, and not necessarily a bad thing. They are capping some honey on the bottom here, which is the top. There is a lot of nectar, which adds to the weight, but they are also, the queen is also laying a lot of eggs too. It's spotty just because the cells in between the capped brood contain nectar. So it's not necessarily a bad thing right now that there's brood on the very first frame, which kind of makes me believe they are trying to figure out where to, or the queen's trying to figure out where to lay eggs, considering this was pretty tight with honey and nectar, honey bound. So same here, honey, a lot of nectar. I don't know why, and I would really appreciate if somebody watches this video that knows more than I do, if they can chime in and help me understand this. But I do not know why they are storing so much nectar in the brood box when there's a honey super on. I mean, this frame's probably a good 10 pounds. And if you can see that, if the sun hits it just right, that is all food. Food is in nectar and capped honey. So it's like, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that these bees are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're just doing it in the wrong spot, not in the honey super, which I don't understand. Yeah, so again, whole bunch of pollen and nectar, capped honey, some brood in the center. which makes me believe the queen is trying to figure out where to put eggs. Alright, so here we go. This is frame number 5, so right in the center. Kind of what you would typically see. More brood. And I don't really see any open cells yet next to the brood to look for eggs. I mean, I'll tell you this much, if these were deep honey supers instead of a brood chamber, I'd be pretty damn happy right now. But the fact that this is part of the brood chamber and they are just packing away honey like it's cool, I'm just not sure what to make of it, really. Whole bunch of food and nectar. We got some really weird looking drone brood here. This is frame 7. Alright, finally on frame 8. It looks like the queen's working this pretty good. Yeah. So, I don't have proof, but I imagine this hive swarmed maybe back in February. But the previous queen was, I mean, just a worker. So I'm gonna grab the flashlight real quick and see if I can see in some of these cells. So the cells have a lot of spun larvae and nectar. I'll tell you what, sometimes I impress myself because using this flashlight was an excellent idea. So I cannot see anything. I cannot see anything in these cells right here, but as soon as I hit it with the flashlight, the spun larvae just light up. Alright, so this is frame 7. Pretty good brood pattern. Frame 9, so this would be a good candidate also for the flashlight because there's a lot of spun larvae that I can see. Eggs. Yeah, so this will be a pretty solid frame because hopefully you can see that, but surrounding the capped brood is nothing but spun larvae. Which means what? An egg is an egg for 3 days. Spun larva 6 to 9 days, I believe. So the queen was here last week, but that's not necessarily good enough. We really want to see some eggs, especially day-old eggs. that whole side too. Like practically every cell that's not capped here has spun larvae. Alright, but we're still in the top box. So we have one more frame and one more box to go. And this frame's pretty heavy, so I imagine it's nothing but nectar. And sure enough. Man, I tell you, golly, look at that. I mean, these bees are doing their thing, they're just doing their thing in the wrong box. It's kind of weird that they're not putting any honey in the super. It's just kind of strange. Alright, I'm going to smoke these bees down into the box here. I didn't see the queen at all, so hopefully we see some eggs and or the queen down in the bottom box. And please don't think I'm this cool, but I saw this trick by another beekeeper, and I'll show you guys here in a second. Just need to do this. Alright, so you got a portable torch. Light it up, right? You can hear it. And just put it on the smoker. Check this out. You got a hard time keeping your smoker lit? That's all you gotta do. And it'll heat this thing up real quick and get your smoker fuel going. That is way easier than trying to mess around with getting a lighter down in your smoker, moving your fuel around, you know. That just ain't even worth the trouble. Alright. Smoke these bees down into the bottom box. That's good enough. Oh, hit the camera. And I'm just going to put the box. I'll figure that out later. Just going to put it down in front of the hive for its new location. Alright, and I'm going to keep the camera where it's at. Yeah, that's good. Alright, so obviously you can tell that's a new frame, which they're just slowly drawing out and packing it with nectar. I'll tell you what, sometimes the biggest struggle with beekeeping is your equipment, mainly And this lighter worked fantastically at first, so I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what causes the problems. Frame number 2. Looks like they're gonna turn this into a food frame as well, drawing out the comb and packing it with nectar. Alright, frame 3, same thing. Same thing. No brood yet. Alright, here we go. Frame 4. We got some nice brood. I don't see any eggs necessarily. Not yet. So around. Alright, let's use the old flashlight again. So around the cap brood, let's see what we got. Nothing. No eggs, no spun larvae. It's getting kind of old with the flashlight, but it's pretty useful. Alright, a whole bunch of food on this frame as well. Alright, this is frame 6. This would be a good candidate for the queen to use to lay eggs, considering it's nice new comb and everything, but there are no eggs. Same thing with this. This is a new frame, a lot of new foundation, or new comb. No eggs. And I know there's a queen in here. Well, there was. Alright, frame 8. Same thing. New frame, a lot of new drawn comb. Filling it with some pollen and nectar, but no eggs. So, frustrating. Alright, here we go. Frame 9. So for whatever reason, up here towards the top of the frame, which is on the bottom right now, so I can clearly see eggs on this frame, so that's great. So the queen's still here, she's still laying eggs. And then this side as well. Let's see if we can get the camera close enough to do this. So basically everywhere on this side has eggs. This is frame 9 in the bottom box, which will now be the top box. Alright, so the queen's still here. She's laying eggs, which is great. And you know what, as I think of this, because I have some trees here, and I've said this in a previous video, this hive, it's had a few queens over the years, but this hive has always, the queens of this hive have always liked laying eggs to the far left as I stand behind it, so frames like 8 through 10. And I think that has something to do with it gets first sun. So that side of the hive warms up first, and maybe that has something to do with why these queens have always preferred laying eggs heavily in frames 8 through 10. And then, as you can see, that's a pretty nice frame of brood. It's probably been one of the better frames so far. Probably can't hear that with the buzzing of the bees, but as I move stuff around, the pollen is just dropping out of it. This frame has a lot of spun larvae. Alright, let's put this back together. Alright, let me get the honey super on real quick. Not that they're doing anything with it. Maybe one day. It's just weird, man. Alright, so 30 minutes, just because that's more in depth than usual. These are all over the camera, so some things don't change. Actually, one stung behind the lens, so that's probably helping attract them. So, I ended up reversing the boxes just because I moved frames from the previous white box into the newly painted box to help identify it. Let's see. Queen's still alive. Found evidence, didn't see her, which is fine, but found evidence of eggs between 2 and 3 days old before they start pupating into larvae. Found a whole bunch of larvae, which is okay to find, but not necessarily the best thing because that means she was there about a week ago. So that's why you're actually looking for eggs, because an egg is an egg for 1 to 3 days. So 1 day, 2 day, and then it's on its side, day 3 before it starts spinning into a larva. So the queen's still here. Go figure, I got some weird things, right? So, box 1, which is on the bottom, easily probably 60 pounds. Ton of food, ton of nectar, ton of capped honey, little brood. Most of the brood is in the top box now, or maybe vice versa, I don't remember. Anyway, what I'm getting at is, the bees are using the brood chamber to pack honey away like it's cool, when there's been a honey supply here for about a month as the nectar flow started. So I can't make sense of that at all. It would have been fantastic to have about a 40 pound honey super, but that is yet to happen. So I'm going to turn the camera around, let the bees settle down a little bit, hopefully, which probably never happens. And let's get into hive number 2 and see how that's looking. That also has a honey super, which literally doesn't mean anything here, but maybe they started packing away some nectar in the super and turning it into honey. That's wishful thinking. Grab the bottom board and the other box real quick. And that should be good. Cool design. That's it. Some people might be thinking why I painted the boxes red, because bees are supposed not to be able to see red, which one of the people who like our page commented. And you know, I knew that and totally forgot, so I found it at Lowe's, $9 a gallon, very good exterior paint that goes for over 30 bucks a gallon. I'm kind of cheap, which my wife knows, so I went with this. The lady made the comment about bees not being able to see red, so what to do, right? I'm not going to go buy more paint. So I decided to basically use some of the white paint that I have and design the front of the hive so curious as they're making their orientation flights and all. They'll recognize the design or the pattern, and then once they get out and start foraging, they'll know where to come back to. Will it work? I don't know. Just fine, to my knowledge, with the white boxes, but painting bee boxes is it's kind of fun, so why not have a little fun? Alright, so hive number 2, let's see how this thing's looking. Holy smokes. Sometimes you find yourself, there's another hive that's doing well. This frame's pretty heavy. This is frame number 6 out of hive 2, and they are doing their thing with the honey super. I might, think of it, I might just put this super, once I get done today, I might just put this super from hive number 1 over on this one. next time I come out, I will probably take a sample. There. So, equipment-wise, when we're talking about differences, as you can see, this colony has a plastic queen excluder, whereas this other colony over here has a metal queen excluder. Hopefully you can hear me. So I don't know. I don't know if metal versus plastic, if there's much of a difference, or it's just simply that the bees are doing whatever they want, obviously. Alright, so same thing. I'm going to go through this box and then put the frames into the new box. And it kind of looks like at first glance, just looking down in between the frames, it kind of looks like they're using the brood box here to store a lot of nectar as well, but we'll see how it looks. So frame 1, it's a lot of nectar, which is pretty common. The outside frames used as food stores. Same thing with frame 2, just a lot of nectar, some capped honey. Same thing with frame 3. I mean, if the queen doesn't start laying eggs in here, this would be a very nice frame to harvest. I'm very reluctant about harvesting any deep frames that are meant to be in the brood boxes, just because, you know, that is the food that they store. And the idea is the supers or the surplus honey is what's for the beekeepers, so once they run out of room, they'll start storing in the super, which I imagine is the case with this, considering they're actually using the super. So maybe hive number 1, come to think of it, maybe hive number 1 just isn't there yet. Yeah, so this frame has some weight to it, just from a lot of nectar and honey. So again, I know that I put a queen in here about 2 weeks ago. So eventually we should start seeing a lot more capped brood. And, you know, come to think of it, since there are some cells that are open, let's take a look. And you know what? I am glad I did that. So this is frame 4. So frame 4, all throughout here are eggs and larvae. So I'm not the most experienced person, but if anybody has a little cheapo flashlight like this, it does the trick with dark comb. Overcast days and dark comb, just get a flashlight that can see down in the cell or help you see down in the cells, and it makes inspecting a hive 10 times easier. Yeah, so this queen's pretty good. All those frames have, or all those cells have new eggs, like day-old eggs, or larvae that has just begun to pupate. So yeah, that was an excellent idea. This is a Mini Pro 1 by Solaray. I have a larger flashlight that came with it on Amazon. I think it's like 30 bucks, so it's pretty inexpensive. this hive's going to take off. This will be a good candidate to split. I say that now, but we'll see how things go. Hopefully y'all can see this, but I'll go slow. Look in the cells, and you should be able to see eggs in all those cells. And then on this side, the other side of frame 5, you should see a whole bunch of larvae, eggs that have begun to pupate into larvae. So yeah, this queen's doing good, which is good for me. Very reassuring, because as fun as beekeeping is, if you care as much as I do, it becomes kind of stressful. You really think about them a lot, especially when you know a hive is queenless. You really start getting concerned whether or not they're going to be able to correct themselves. Yeah, now we're starting to look good. This is frame 6, left side, so the side that faces the southeast, that gets more sun or heat probably than the other side, but either way, good looking brood pattern. Some queen cups on the bottom, but they're dry, as some people say. They're empty. No egg, no larva, no royal jelly, so a hive is always in preparation to replace the queen or swarm as it starts filling up like this. But if you don't see an egg or larva in there, I don't think there's anything to worry about. Alright, here we go. This might be the main picture of the video. Hopefully the sun's hitting that just right. That is a very beautiful frame of capped brood. We got spun larvae. I mean, that is just what a new frame, new foundation, newly drawn comb, and fresh pollen does, or creates, I guess I should say. Yeah, this hive's looking pretty good. This hive's a strong hive. And that's only frame 7 of the top box. Frame 8, they're just utilizing as much space as possible. A few queen cups on the bottom, but there's nothing in there. And just to play it safe today, since I haven't been inspecting too often since having some problems with the hives, I'm just looking at the empty cells around the brood. It looks like it's just full of nectar. So what I'm thinking is, since I recombined these splits about 2 weeks ago with a lot of chilled brood, I'm thinking that the hives, even though some of the brood looks kind of spotty, I'm thinking that they've really just been uncapping the brood, getting rid of all the old dead bees, and the queen's just utilizing whatever space she can. And then it kind of saddens me to say this, but these are the type of frames I was used to seeing. And another, well, swarm cells are supposed to be on the bottom third. Supersedral cells are supposed to be on the top third, like quadrant. But and they place the swarm cell high. Plenty of space. But yeah, frames like that is what I'm used to seeing in all the hives, which is why it was kind of sickening to realize that I caused the problems that I caused when I went to split the hives, and that cold front came through and chilled the brood. This frame is heavy. This frame is probably a 10+ pound frame because it's all nectar. and they're capping this side with 100, which is fine. Frame 10, so very outside frame, very typical to use it as a food store. Alright, so that's that. Let's see. I was going to say I was going to relight the smoker, but it's probably pointless, really. Just going to put this box on top of the other one in front of the hive. All the bees inside the box will probably worry about. Hopefully. And let's do this. Let's close up what is now the bottom box. So I'm also reversing the hives, and you're supposed to do that as the bees come out of winter, which I did. I don't know if I did it too early and that caused problems. But they've already been reversed once, so I'm reversing them back. So honestly, I don't know if that's really going to cause problems or not. The bees will kind of redistribute whatever they need to do. And I'm going to light the smoker again just because I want to smoke these bees down before getting into the bottom box. Be nice if this thing had a little click lighter like gas grills. Yes, I mean, these bees are doing their thing. They're packing away honey. This one's slowly starting to use the super. This one absolutely doesn't know what a super is. Nothing going on there but some nectar, small patch of brood. Frame 2. Alright, shoot man, maybe yeah, there's spun larvae in here, which makes me believe the cap brood is about 2 weeks old or so. Alright, let's use that flashlight again to look at the uncapped cells amongst the brood. And sometimes it's just hard to tell, no matter what. Free. New frame, new foundation, new wax. I'm just storing some nectar right now. So the side facing the camera right now looks like just a lot of pollen. However, this side looked like it might have it just looks like all food. See one spun larva on that other side. And there's some spotty larvae here, so let's get the flashlight. I wish I had another set of hands, because if you look at this side, you see some what's the first thing you see, right? You see some spotty brood, which is a concern. But, and I'm going to try this, and there's absolutely no guarantee if this is going to work or not. The joys of working by yourself. So, let's see if this works. Maybe, maybe not. But if you can see in there, hopefully it shows you there's a whole bunch of spun larvae. So this queen, this is frame, what, 5? This whole frame is spun larvae. And on the very outside, eggs. So she's doing great. So that's my tip from a somewhat newbie beekeeper to everybody else, experienced or inexperienced. If you have very dark comb, which is just old comb, there's nothing wrong with it because clearly the bees will still use it. Just get yourself a cheaper little flashlight and get the main inspections 10 times easier. Remove most of the uncertainty, at least that's doing it for me. Is that right? I don't know. Is that larva? I can't see anything. You sit here and try and mess with it right at forget all that. Just give yourself a flashlight. Way easier. I think this is frame 6. It's a whole bunch of food. It's a dry queen cup. Hopefully this doesn't mess with the camera too much, but this is what I'm saying. Like as I'm moving around the frames, larva, or not larva, pollen. Pollen's just falling out like crazy, so I'm trying not to disturb them too much, but you know, part of the inspections. Oh man. So I guess here's an advantage to some dark comb. Hopefully the sun hits it at the right angle. But I mean, look at all that spun larva amongst the cap brood. So frame 7, looking pretty solid. Frame 8's pretty light. Yeah, it's pretty light because all these eggs haven't started to pupate and become capped. So this side's a lot of pollen, but this side here, none of eggs. Solid brood, cap brood in about probably about 2 weeks. Alright, yeah, 9 and 10, not too much going on. Let me put this back together. Take the lid off the bottom box, combine these, and call it a day. That is amazing. The smoker's still good finally. So how do you get bees off the bottom board, right? Good question. So, for those of you that realize what I did are probably laughing. For those of you that don't know, I'll explain. So I took the bottom board, as you saw, and wanted to get all the bees off of it. So without thinking ahead or realizing what I was doing, I banged them all into the honey super. So why is that an issue? Well, the honey super has a queen excluder, so if the queen happened to try to evade me, which they tend to do, and drop down to the bottom board, I just shook her into the honey super. Very stupid, because she cannot get down into the colony, which is where she belongs. So two things, right? There's a bee stinging the lens right now. So two things, right? She'll be stuck in the super, and she'll make that her new brood chamber, which would completely suck. And then basically you just made the hive queenless for me. That it seems to be a new skill. I'm trying to get the stinger off. I'll try to show you, but oh well. And now it's on the lens. Yeah, making a hive queenless seems to be a new skill of mine, unfortunately. That's the bee stinger that was just stinging the lens. Anyway, let me box this up instead of keep talking. Alright. That's pretty much that. So, let's do a quick walk around. About an hour for 2 hives, which is a lot of time. My average, I think, is about 20 minutes. And this is the aftermath of a typical bee inspection. Bees are wondering what in the world just happened. Who's this dude that came in and just disrupted our entire way of living? So they try to get rid of, or not get rid of, but get away from you. And I'm just looking around on the ground real quick just to make sure the queen's not somewhere. So hopefully that's not the case. I'll have to come out later today and just kind of make sure all the bees made their way back into their colonies. So yeah, May 3rd, Cole's Farm, Jacksonville, North Carolina. I plan on posting the whole hour-long video. It's a little bit longer. I'll edit a few things out, but not much. Just so you can see everybody makes mistakes, including me. That last one was just stupid though, banging all the bees from the bottom board on top of the honey super. I'm glad I realized it when I did and didn't go inside and realize it like hours later, like sometimes that happens. But yeah, hive number one's looking okay. A few frames of good brood, found some eggs, which is great, so they still have a queen. Thing I'm curious about is why they haven't started using the honey super, so I'm not sure about that. Hive number two's looking strong. They are using the honey super. And then like usual, now I have to kind of keep an eye on them to make sure I didn't screw anything up, so I might come out in a few days, I might not, I might just give it till next weekend. Alright, so thanks for watching everybody, Cole's Farm. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Always looking for some feedback, so please leave your comments on the video. I try to respond to them all. I don't get too many, just a few folks that tend to comment a lot, and I definitely appreciate it. Just kind of wish more people did. And that's pretty much it. So until next time, if I don't come out in a week, I'll probably just pop the tops and take a quick look just to make sure everything's, you know, going okay. Probably won't make a video, but in 2 weeks, so about mid-May, I'll get back on my routine 2-week cycle of inspecting the hives. Alright, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, everybody.